Could Batman have finally met his match when he has to fight another Batman? We're going to talk about it right now. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the show. Thank you for joining us once again. If you're new here, thank you. Thank you for giving me a shot, clicking on that video. I hope that you enjoy what you're about to see, because this is the place where we talk about Batman the Animated Series on the 25th anniversary of each and every episode. And if you're like me and grew up on Batman the Animated Series and became a huge Batman fan today, then I think you'll enjoy this show. Because today, we're talking about his silicone soul.
This is a bunch of junk, Chaz. What'd you drag us down here for?
His silicone soul, is it silicon or silicone? Silicone. Silicone. This episode is quite truly the final part of the Hardac Trilogy. We have the two-parter with Heart of Steel, and this pretty much picks up right where that one left off. Although there is a little bit of a passage of time there that's implied, this kind of rounds out that story in a most unique, inventive way. But before we get into that, I'm going to give you my 60-second rundown of the episode. There's no way I'll finish it before this bomb goes off. I'm just telling you now. Some random thugs are going through a warehouse and they're looking at all this old tech and military equipment and things like that. And they break open this crate that has the Hardac emblem on there. And Batman pops out. They get scared. They run away and they start shooting at him. And they realize he's not human because all these guts and are not guts, but mechanical wires and steel is coming out of him. And then he wanders his way back to Wayne Manor and runs into Alfred and goes, "Oh, somebody help me. I can't do this." And Alfred gets scared and runs off. And Batman's looking at the pictures and recognizes his mother and father. He is thinking that he is Batman. He goes down in the Batcave and is trying to search for this. Meanwhile, Batman, the real Batman, is at the scene where where Commissioner Gordon is getting those three thugs down, and he goes, "Wait a minute, how this must be yours, Batarang and all this." And Batman goes, "I didn't do this. I don't know who this is," but he finds a little chip on the microchip on the one guy's collar. So he goes back to the Batcave, he doesn't go back to the, he goes back to the creator of Hardac, who's now on a farm and trying to isolate himself from that, and talks with him about, if there's any more duplicates out there or if that they were all destroyed. He thinks they're all destroyed. And then the robot Batman comes back. Batman comes in. They fight the first time, and then they how do they end up back at they go back to the Batcave? Oh, there's so much that was happening in this episode. They go back to the Batcave. I forget how they get there, and they end up in the Batcave and they're fighting again. And he goes back there because he needs to. That's right. He goes to the warehouse, gets the other components. He downloads Hardac. The robot downloads Hardac into his skull, into his computer, and then he goes back to the Bat computer to send that out over the airwaves and continue their mission of destroying all humans. And they are to replace them with robots. Batman comes in, saves the day because he can't kill. He knows he can't kill, and then so Batman falls off the cliff and he thinks that he's dead. And then the robot Batman ends up smashing up the computer, and it all goes to dust. Whew. That was a mess. That was an absolute mess. But I got through it. It only took me 4.5 minutes and 3 Joker bombs, but
We humans are more resilient than you give us credit for.
just when I think that the animated series can't surprise me again, this episode comes along. And it's one that I remember watching. I remember seeing Batman fighting Robot Batman. But I honestly did not remember the whole story around or the connection with this and Hardac. So those components of the story was like seeing it fresh for the first time, which was really exciting.
It seems there was another Batman sighted there last night. Could Hardac have created another duplicate?
It seemed to me very obvious that they always intended on making this episode. And what I like about it as a trilogy is that we had the two-parter, and it was just a continuation of the story. There was a break in there, a cliffhanger where he was hanging from the hang glider hanger thing. And there's a break in the story, and it just pretty much last previously on Batman, and they continue on. There's an implied kind of passage of time, because when we see the creator of Hardac, Carl Rossum, he's now established himself on a farm and has these mechanical tractors and things, and has moved on. All of the remains of Hardac has been packed up and stored in this warehouse and put away for some period of time. So there's a passage of time, but it isn't just that the Hardac computer fires back up or continues on its mission. No, they tie this in that
Shortly before self-destruction, Hardac created one final duplicate, an advanced prototype with personal and technical information accessed from Batman's computer. You were that duplicate.
reload the hard drive memory of Hardac into another computer, and it can continue on its mission to eradicate and take care of and eliminate all humans. So it's kind of a fresh story. And then there's another layer on that with it being Batman.
We will begin the replacement process with Batman.
At the beginning, when robot Batman is trying to figure out who he is, he doesn't even realize that he is a robot because he knows all this information about Batman. He has the memories of Batman and Bruce Wayne. And so he's trying to figure out who he is. And that ends up being his own destruction, because there's too much of Batman in him, and so much so that Batman has the rule that he won't kill anybody. So when the robot Batman is faced with having to kill Batman himself,
I suspect you not only won't kill, you can't. That's why you didn't finish me off at the warehouse.
he can't do it. He physically can't make that happen. And in fact, when he thinks that he does, when Batman falls off the cliff,
I've taken a life.
he ends up destroying the whole computer and kind of destroying himself in the process. So those kind of elements in that is really fascinating, really interesting, kind of a neat take. It is kind of similar to Blade Runner, Terminator, and those kind of things, or even Borg from Star Trek. It has that kind of element when he puts the chip in there that...
We are Hardac.
And as I said in The Heart of Steel, I think about any of the movies, any of the storylines that involve artificial intelligence in some way, shape, or form have this kind of theme of the computers have become so smart that the only way to succeed and survive is to eliminate the humans and eliminate human error.
Picture a world completely free of crime, free of suffering, free of frailty.
Is a great battle on many levels. One, we get to see a lot more of the Batcave, which is kind of fun and interesting. And also just seeing they build this robot Batman character up that he is, an exact duplicate of Batman, both that he knows his skills, he knows his techniques, he knows he can anticipate his moves, that they have equal strength. If not, the robot maybe is even a little bit stronger. So it's a great matchup. It's a great head-to-head battle of anybody that Batman's fought. To have to fight himself, it's a pretty epic battle. And just when you think the battles can't get any better, they pull out samurai swords and they're fighting each other with swords.
You mean free of choice, compassion, free of humanity? Yes!
The only thing that would have made it better if they were riding dinosaurs. So when it comes time to rank this episode, just great, fun episode. And it's so neat to see it as a continuation, a trilogy of Heart of Steel. But it is enough of a different episode that it isn't just a continuation. It's very much a trilogy, very much a team. You know what? It's a trilogy like Back to the Future, where you have part 1 and 2 are really intertwined together, very much linked together, and use parts of each episode. And then you have the third one that is a continuation and is part of that same story, but kind of an offshoot, kind of a little bit different. All equally good, all one of the best trilogies, in my opinion. But that third one is just a little bit off, just a little bit different. Not off in a bad way, but just different from the other two. I think that's how this is. But it's a tremendous episode. It's got great action, great to see Batman fighting Batman. So I started looking into the top 10 list, and it ended up into the number 8 slot, just below I Am the Night. This is a great story, a great plot, but Couldn't quite beat out I Am the Night because that story is just so rich, so deep. Where this one is very fascinating and a great continuation and a great battle. Just doesn't quite have the depth of the story or depth of the character as it does in I Am the Night.
Could it be it had a soul, Alfred? A soul of silicon, but a soul nonetheless.
So speaking of trilogies, let me know, what is your favorite trilogy? I told you I think Back to the Future is probably one of my all-time favorite trilogies, movie-wise. Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please click that like button. I always appreciate seeing those. And while you're down there, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already so that you're notified as all the new episodes come out. Next up, we have the episode Off Balance, which comes out on Thanksgiving this week on Thursday. So be sure to tune in and check that video out. As always, I'm Andy Knode. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.